ejército del Ebro, rumba la rumba la rumba la otra noche el río cruzó, ay Carmen.
El ejército del Ebro, rumba 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 ba. El ejército del Ebro, rumba 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 ba. Una noche el río pasó, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Una noche el río pasó, ay.
From July 17, 1936 to April 1st, 1939, there was a civil war in Spain. The war divided the nation, sparked when General Emilio Mola and Francisco Franco launched an uprising aimed at overthrowing the country's democratically elected republic. The Spanish Civil War was an internal conflict between two sides, dividing the nation. On one side, we had the nationalists, led by General Francisco Franco. The nationalist ideologies were varied, but were overall fascist. In general, they believed in a centralized Spanish state, where the historical regions would not have any form of self-government. Their cultures would be reduced to a mere folklore curiosity, and Spanish would be the only official language. They wanted a strong state, preferably a monarchy, and a well-ordered society in which protests and strikes would not be tolerated. They also wanted the Catholic Church's role in society to be restored. The idea that they were fighting a crusade to save Spain from its enemies, whom they considered the anti-Spain, was central to their mission and continued through the dictatorship. They wanted something different from the current government and supported a Spanish coup. On the other side, we had the Republicans, led by Manuel Alzano. With the Republican side, there were liberals, socialists, communists, anarchists, and Basque, Catalan, and Galician nationalists. They were loyal to the current government. Some were fighting for a liberal democracy, some for social revolution, and others for the survival of their national culture and languages. What united them against the nationalists was their loyalty to a democratically elected government, a commitment to improving the social conditions of many, and a strong anti-clerical sentiment. The nationalists could not do it alone. They relied on support from Italian and German fascist forces. In the end, foreign aid was an important factor in the victory of the nationalists, as they had more manpower and more upgraded weapons. Italian and German planes were paramount for the transport of the Spanish troops from northern Africa to the peninsula at the very beginning of the coup. They also sent thousands of their own troops to fight alongside the Nationalist Army. This served as a test ground for Hitler to test weapons, aircraft, and military tactics that would later be used in World War II. Lasting nearly 3 years from July 1936, the bitter Spanish War had been called the dress rehearsal for World War II. The war began with the first military airlift and continued with developments in strategic bombing, refinement of close air support, and evolution of fighter tactics. The Spanish Civil War was key to putting later fascist ideology into power through military power. The scale of destruction was increased by external influences as Germany, Italy, and Russia used the opportunity to test a new generation of weapons and tactics. Almost incidentally, the fascists and communists sought to bolster the ideological soulmates on the Iberian Peninsula. Ultimately, Germany provided more than 700 airplanes, Italy sent 760, but also contributed to a significant ground component, amounting to reinforced army coups. Their support not only helped the nationalists, but also helped them in their future plans.
Viva la Quinta Brigada, rumba la rumba la. Los moros que trajo Franco
Léon Blum, the Socialist Prime Minister of France, proposed a non-intervention agreement on August 1st, 1936, but Britain was quick to back it. Other governments soon joined non-intervention, thereby sabotaging the Republic's chances of snuffling out of the rebellion before it could spread, since unlike the Nationalists, they had no support from big powers, ultimately supporting the Nationalists indirectly. The non-intervention agreement, signed in August 1936, was an early indication that the fascist powers might also be permitted to act with relative impunity inside the continental Europe. The non-intervention agreement was an oral agreement in which 24 European governments pledged not to intervene and not to sell or send arms to either side, and to not intervene into other countries' internal affairs. The policy of appeasement was a policy strategy where a country makes concessions to an aggressive power to avoid conflict or war. This is why, on July 25, 1936, after an intense debate in the Council of Ministers, Léon Blum announced the decision not to intervene into Spanish Civil War and cancel any shipment of arms and ammunition. The French rulers believed that this helped to appease its internal situation, to strengthen the alliance with Great Britain, and to avoid the danger of its expansion into a European war. The British strategy towards the Spanish Civil War was fully aligned with with the appeasement policy/strategy, and was consistent with the pressure put on France to keep a neutral stance that gave rise to the Permanent Non-Intervention Committee. France also could not afford to antagonize Britain, and therefore decided against helping the Spanish government and feared the negative effects that could happen. Since Germany and Italy saw that Britain and France wanted to intervene and saw the policy of appeasement in play, they became more motivated and had more hope that their plans to promote and establish fascism would work. A key reason they could test their weapons and strategy is because, unlike France and Britain, Germany and Italy did not keep to the agreement. The collapse of enforcement and passive response on the part of the West illustrated a reluctance to resist fascism, which Hitler and Mussolini came to regard as weakness. However, like we saw, this agreement was blatantly violated. The German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, used Spain as a training ground with real targets. The Loyalists had no means to fight against planes, so they suffered consistent defeats and setbacks from the bombing raids. The Spanish Civil War allowed Italy and Germany to try out their new armies before committing to a larger war in Europe. This only served to give them further confidence that they could expand and militarize with little resistance, and contributed directly to the inflation of fascist ambition on the path to World War II. The Civil War gave Hitler a chance to try out weapons and tactics, while the inaction of Britain and France gave encouragement to this plan. The appeasement and inaction in Spain thus did not prevent war, it permitted the unobstructed rise of fascist control throughout Europe, and a view of how other European countries would interact with fascist forces. Germany and Italy fascist forces put their motivation into action after the Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Civil War is seen by some historians as the first battle of World War II due to it showcasing how other countries reacted to fascist movements and the fascist actions. The platform given by the Spanish Civil War contributed to World War II because it deepened a divide between ideologies. It shaped further wars into a symbolism for fighting for the superior ideology. Through this, Franco, with the support of Italy and Germany, showed how fascism could successfully fight for superiority. After all the laps behind the safety car, it waved the green flag for the fight for fascism. This spurred the motivation for Hitler and the Nazi Party to perpetuate World War II. The ability to test military weapons and strategies were vital for their success for further fascist movements.
Salve o popolo d'eroi, salve o patria immortale, son rinati figli tuoi con la fede nell'ideale.